Heyo! Fincast86 and the Big Cheese here with 3 minutes of genealogy wisdom. I suppose I should call this the Halloween edition because we're going to talk about cemeteries and what grave markers and tombstones can get you, the kind of information that they can get you, because sometimes there's a load of information on there, and looking at cemeteries, looking at where people are buried, maybe, spouses are buried next to each other, there might be children, you can learn nuggets of drama, and that can add to the story. That can add to the story of your family history by looking at those tombstones and reading the messages. Sometimes they're written right on the tombstone, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's symbology used. So look at the tombstone, consider everything. Obviously it's going to have, well, not obviously, but most of the time it's going to have the name, it's going to have the date of birth, date of death, or maybe just years. Probably going to have the spouse. If the person was married, they might be buried alongside the spouse or on top of the spouse even. Military affiliation is something that's often included. And of course, a lot of ancestors are buried in military cemeteries. Look for the cemetery records. A good place to find that, number 2 down here, findagrave.com. That is the single most valuable piece of information I'm giving you in this video. Go to findagrave.com. It is free. You can do the search. The search engine is really powerful. You put in the name, you can put in a date range for when they died, when they were born, what county that they're in, what cemetery they're in. Find those people. A lot of times, this is all done by volunteers, and you can go out, you can volunteer for this group and take pictures and transcribe cemeteries in your local area if you know of any old cemeteries, historic cemeteries, that kind of thing. Not all these cemeteries are published, though. Sometimes you can't find things on Find a Grave. Sometimes people are buried in private plots, family plots, and you're kind of on your own with that. But talk to your relatives, try and find those through alternative means. What other information can you get? I'm going back to number 1 here. Well, sometimes it has group affiliations on the tombstone. So it might have a marker indicating that they were a Freemason. I already mentioned military service. It's probably going to indicate what their religion was, especially if they were Jewish, if they were a member of a religious organization or a religious order. It's probably going to be there on the grave marker. Finally, try and visit the cemetery. That's a really cool experience, and it can get you in close proximity. If you are in geographic proximity to the cemetery and can actually go out there and visit it, then you can see these tombstones, you can lay your hands on these things, and these are the markers in most cases, unless it's a new tombstone set up over an old grave, which happens fairly regularly. But you can see the actual tombstone that they might have laid out over, your great-grandfather, your great-great-grandmother, when they were buried, 150, 200 years ago. So it's a really special experience, and if you're into genealogy, then those kind of experiences are probably of value to them, to you. Take a camera, go in the middle of the day, avoid doing rubbings that could damage the tombstone depending on the material that the tombstone itself is made of. But good luck. And my scotch on the rocks is losing its chill, so cheers.